I know I haven't done any videos on this channel recently, but I want to try and start doing some more. I think I'm going to do live shows that we can talk about matters that we're actually dealing with from a startup perspective, particularly in the marketing area. Although customer discovery and customer development as a whole, I'm very involved in. And the first thing I thought I'd talk about is related to I have a client who is starting to ask a decision about when should we have a go no go decision. So basically what happens is in the startup world there are stages at which you should have go no go decisions. And let me just give you some examples. When you're starting out and you're doing customer discovery as a part of your customer development process, and if you're not aware of what that is, you should take a look at this book, Four Steps to the Epiphany. Best way of doing customer development out there. Follow the process in that book. Basically, customer development is you asking the question, if I create a business model around this product idea that I have, will it be sustainable based off what customer demands are, based on what customers will pay me, all of those kinds of things. And at multiple points in that process, when you're an early stage startup, and even as you get even later into like mid stage or even late stage, there's always this question of when do I have a conversation about a go no go decision? What is that? Am I even talking about? What is a go no go decision? It means, should I keep doing this as a company? Should I keep pursuing this thing that I'm doing? Or should I just throw in the towel and say, this is never going to make any money? Now, a lot of people aren't going to talk about that when they are doing YouTube videos or whatever, because a lot of people want to talk about this. Oh, you need to have perseverance and you need to just be dedicated to it. And it's going to be your work that gets this thing done. But that's kind of a foolish thing not to consider, because there are some times, and this is part of the whole Steve Blank's customer development process, you need to actually have go, no go decisions, because you don't want to pour, thousands, you don't even want to pour hundreds of dollars into something that is never going to become a company, that's never going to become a product that sells. Why would you want to waste your money, right? And so the question is like, how do we set up go, no go decisions, meaning we keep going or we stop because this idea is not actually, it's not getting any traction and it never will have any traction. And it's a little bit of a unique conversation with the client that I'm working with, because they've been a company for a long period of time and they've already spent a lot of money. In fact, they had spent quite a bit of money before I even came on board as a consultant for them. But this idea of having go, no go decisions is really, really important for startups and for anybody who is in the startup space, anybody who has a business, because you're constantly trying to ask yourself the question, should I pour more money and time and effort into this business? Or should I back off of that and try something different? Which is sometimes a really important question to ask. So because it's a question for one of my clients, I thought I would just chat about it a little bit. Now, I will say that if you're following the 4 Steps to the Epiphany book, let's just say you're very early on in your idea. Maybe you don't even have a prototype yet, and you're wondering if this idea is even going to go anywhere because it's just in your head, but you haven't been able to talk. The thing I would want to do, the first thing I would want to do is start talking to people. This is what I do with my clients. We start interviewing people, and we start saying, is this a problem that you have? And do you have a solution for this problem? And then I listen to them and I listen to what they say. How big of a problem is it? Is it a hair on fire problem, which is a term that we use when somebody has a really serious problem, hair on fire, because obviously you want to put that out as soon as possible. Or is this just kind of a problem that's in the background that I'm just really not worried about, and I'm never going to pay for this problem to be solved. I'm just going to not worry about it. So part of a go, no go decision as a startup founder is then saying, okay, I've interviewed a bunch of people. Is there anybody that has a hair on fire problem where if I solve it for them, they will pay me in return? And I know that sounds simple, but like in the startup world, sometimes just even getting one customer is almost impossible. So I would encourage people, the first no go decision that you should consider is, even before you have a prototype, if you just have an idea, start interviewing people who you think your target customers would be. and see if it's even viable for you to create a prototype. Do people care about this problem? Is it a hair on fire that they want to solve it? At what level am I operating to where this could be a viable business or it couldn't be? And think of how much money you would save if you did that, right? Because if you do this, you would save a lot of money. Now, a lot of founders don't start there. They don't start with just an idea and they're just kind of wondering about it and then they need to go interview people. A lot of founders, like many of my clients, they had the problem themselves and they were like, I want to solve this problem because this problem is irritating to me. Maybe they're the one that has the hair on fire problem. Now that's cool because you have a use case of one, but you still want to go through the process of interviewing other people who are like you and who you feel like will also be experiencing that problem, because you want to see if it's worth your time and energy and money to go pursue that thing. So the second no-go decision that I think is pretty standard for a lot of startups is you create a prototype. You have people tell you, this is a really good idea. I have a hair on fire problem. If you build me a prototype, I'll want to buy it tomorrow. That's really good. You don't find even that a lot of times. A lot of times you're like really, really trying to find some people that resonate with what you're trying to do. But let's just say you've gotten to the second stage and you've built a prototype. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to test that prototype with people, go back to the same people that said that they had a hair on fire problem, show them the prototype, show them how it works and go, does this solve your problem and would you want to purchase this? And you'd be surprised at how many people who told you it was a great idea come back and are like, oh yeah, that's cool. I guess it's not as big of a problem as I thought it was for me to begin with. And so that reveals things to you as well, right? So you spend $0, you just spend time in interviewing people to see if they have a hair on fire problem and if they would buy something from you. Then you spend a little bit of money and create a prototype. And then you test that with people and see if that prototype is going to go anywhere. The next thing that you have to do is you have to, if people tell you the prototype doesn't work and you don't, and by the way, when I say how many people are you going to interview, I mean, you're interviewing dozens of people. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to interview 5 people and see what happens. This is a specific process that you need to follow. This is what I do for a lot of my clients is that they come on and they say, hey, look, Jay, we want you to grow our business because our business needs, we don't have any customers. And I go, did you do the 4 steps to the Epiphany? Did you do the work of doing customer development or customer discovery, especially to start out with? And they go, oh no, what's that? And I go, oh, we need to do that before you continue to pour more money into this. Because if you keep paying me a bunch of money, and then you ask me to help you market it and you want to put money into advertising or something like that, that is not going to solve your customer problem. You need to understand your customers before you start to grow your company. You can't do it the reverse of that. You have to go in alignment with that. And it's a game. You sometimes, hit the gas pedal. You sometimes hit the brakes. It's a game for what you're trying to accomplish. But the go, no-go decision occurs at the very early stage when you're doing customer discovery. Does anybody like this idea? You create a prototype. Is this going to actually sell? You start to change the prototype a little bit based on the needs that you're hearing from people and based on what you learn from them. Always be careful that you're not just chasing new features. That happens to almost all of my clients where, oh, I would buy from you if only you had this other feature. That's a bad thing. So customer development is not easy, and I'm not pretending that it is, but you have a distinct go, no-go decision early on when you have an idea. You have a distinct go, no-go decision when you have a prototype. But that continues down the path, right? Like, so if you're going to look at, okay, I want to now validate that I have customers, and I'm going to actually start selling to customers. Okay, well, there's a no-go. There's a no. This is hard to say a million times. There's a distinct go, no-go decision to be made if you're trying to sell to customers and you can't get any early customers. Maybe if you can't even get any early customers, it's a bad deal. Then the next go, no-go decision that often comes up for people is you have a few customers, but the question is, can you actually be profitable? Have you done the work to say that I can sell this product to these people at this level and it only costs me this much, therefore I have a big margin where I'm making money? Because there's a lot of startups that'll be like, oh, people really want our product, and then they realize that they can sell the product to them at $10, but it costs them $12 to make the product, and you have a losing product, right? Like, you don't have a business. You have a product that maybe some people like, but they're not willing to pay enough money for, or you're not able to make that product for cheap enough that it's a viable thing. So I think what I'm trying to coach my client through now is, what does because we've tested a lot of things already. They've been in business for a long time. They really need growth pretty badly. And my analysis, we're doing a sense making exercise now, right? So sense making exercise is basically how do we collect all the information that we've gathered from meeting with customers and understand where the marketplace is at, understand where we're at, and understand what next steps are. And that by definition means there has to be a go, no go decision involved. Because if you can't get any customers in the next however long, then we might have to shut down the business and stop pretending that this is going to work. And so this gets into a lot of other questions, right? Like what is about our business model is correct or incorrect? And this is what I try and help guide them through. And the sense making exercise is really important because you need everybody on the team to say, what have we learned both about the marketplace, about the product, about our customers? What have we learned about all of this? And how can we make a decision about how to move forward? And everything can be a test, right? We'll test this, we'll validate whether or not that is true. And then you have to ask yourself, is this the last test? Is this the last test that we run? Are we going to keep running tests, or are our tests done and we're finished? So I'd love to hear from you. What are some go, no-go decisions that you've run across? And maybe you kept going when you should have stopped, or maybe you kept going and it was successful. I'd love to hear those in the comments down below. If you have other topics that you'd like me to talk about, I'm going to try and do some of these shows kind of every day addressing a very specific topic because of things that I'm learning, because of things that I have learned in the past that I'm trying to help my clients learn. I think it'll be a really good discussion. So let me know in the comments down below if you've ever encountered a go, no-go decision, and which way did you turn, and was it successful or was it not successful? And this is where, lean startup, this is why lean startup becomes so important, because the less money you can spend, the less money is potentially meaning you waste less money because you tried to pursue something that really wasn't something that you should have been pursuing. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear your experience with go, no-go decisions, and root for us because we're going through one of those now, and I really want my client to be successful because they're a really cool client with a really great product. To be honest, it's a really great product that has been shown to transform people's lives. Can we create a business model around it? That's a no-go. That's a go, no-go decision. Also, try saying go, no-go decision multiple times on a live show. That's not easy. Also, I hope to see you on, I'm going to try to do these as often as I can. Hopefully weekdays, I'm going to start doing these. Hopefully you can tune in and participate in the discussion. I'll talk to you later.